Network. Dr. Ruth Anderson here for New Month Numerology. Michele Landers is our board certified life purpose coach, hypnotherapist, and professional numerologist that is going to walk us through March of 2026. Michele Landers, thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you, Ruth. I appreciate it so much. Every month sharing the energy. Hopefully it helps. I would love to think that, you get a little bit of a glimpse of what's coming up. It's never exact, but sometimes it is. Sometimes it is. So let's get started. So I'm coming in a little bit late this month. I apologize for that. And what's interesting is what took place on the first and the second, but I'll get to that in a minute. So there are some predictors who are saying this month is going to be softer, whatever that means, so to speak, not as loud. I don't see that at all, unfortunately. I know that we do have a few pockets of really nice energy, but overall, we're building towards this is all moving towards a much bigger breakdown and revelations or upheavals. Not to digress too much, but April is supposed to be really stormy. So let's talk about March. March is the third month, but when you add it to the one universal year, what do you have? You have a 4 universal month. So the numbers that we're dealing with this month are 1 and 3, 4, 13. And yeah, under the whole umbrella of the one universal year. So what does 4 mean? When I see 4, there's so many aspects to well, every number there is. And again, I just want to remind people you can be living on the high side of the 4, or you can be living on the low side of the 4. It just depends on where your energy is and how spiritual you are, how in tune you are with the higher realms of love and consciousness and compassion. So all of that puts you, so every month, depending on how you're vibrating, you're going to be able to tune into the positive vibrations of that number. So let's talk about what all the vibrations are. So the number 4 on a global level, we'll talk about that. And when I say global, I do mean global, but it can apply to your life as well. So it brings a number of things. 4 can be restrictive. It could be frustrations. It could be delays. It could be roadblocks, figuratively, literally. Think of a square box. A square box, you can feel boxed in with a square, but the 4 is also foundational. Foundational in the sense that there could be, I don't know, new ground rules. I don't know if that's government rules, but I feel like new ground rules are being laid. Now, that's on a global level in the US, and personally, you might find that you got to kind of, cycle it down to what's applicable in your life. So I am wondering, what new governmental rules are we going to hear about? And also think about a chair with 4 legs. A chair needs 4 legs. It's foundations. It's to stay stable. It's to stay grounded. So when the 4 appears, I always say it's time to lay the groundwork for your future projects. And the number 4 also tells us to make sure that we look at and we examine all the details. 4 is demanding in a lot of ways, but it gives so much. It goes, okay, we don't want any mistakes here. So this is why we're going to put your nose to the grindstone and examine the details. Stay laser focused this month, as we always should, but especially the 4 demands that on your goals. Don't take anything for granted. And the 4 is also about feeling like a little bit of restrictions of some type. and maybe you feel a little bit held back, but don't let that get you down. There are things you can still do because it's a great time to be super organized, which I find that so funny because this morning, I mean, I just wrote this, right? Well, I've been writing it for about 2 weeks. And this morning, without even paying attention to the fact that 4 is about getting super organized, I got out this whole bag of like receipts that I had to go through and these things I had to go through, and I got them all organized. And I go, oh, I'm following the 4. So, as I said, it's kind of a nose to the grindstone month, get things done. And there's the energy there that support your goals, but we've got to be diligent and no procrastination. 4 doesn't tolerate procrastination. It's like get her done. And 4 also corresponds, not that I know, I just know it corresponds to the shadow planet Rahu, which is the north node of the moon. I don't know a lot about it, but I do know that it's known for representing this kind of innovation, but unpredictable energy and karmic lessons. And 4 is definitely, there's 2 karmic well, there's a lot of karmic numbers, but between 1 and 9, I always say 4 and 8, those are your karmic numbers. And that means that it can bring back things of a karmic nature. But please don't misinterpret karmic as bad, or yes, it can be challenging, but it can also be a gift. Karma coming back in a positive way. Now, what we have to look out for with the 4, and I think we're going to be seeing this globally, it's stubborn, it's self-righteous, or let's put it that way. Again, if you're operating in the negative side of 4, stubborn, self-righteous, and argumentative. However, right, when it's working from its highest potential, it's like, okay, we're getting down to business. We're getting things right this time. We're getting things straight. We're getting things honest. No BS. Just do the work. Just do the work. So if we're operating in the highest potential of this number, we could see that. And that might be globally, or it could be just, in your personal life. So 4 is also represented by the 4th card of the tarot, which is the Emperor. So this tells me that globally, again, leaders are in the spotlight. Now, I talked about that last month, that it could mean a prominent male is in the spotlight and is leaving either by own choice or because something happens to him. And that did happen with Prince Andrew, and it also happened with the beginning, I think it was very beginning of this month, the Ayatollah. And we can kind of expect more of that because it is definitely a number of authority and rules and regulations and laws and structure, and it's conformity. And it might feel like we're being kind of forced into this place of, well, you have to conform or else. Now, again, that's if it's not operating in the highest potential. So what we need to do is ask ourselves over and over again, what's not working? Why can't we get things straight? And that's a big question this month. And it's going to stir up a lot of things, a lot of frustration along those lines. And I'm also a little bit concerned that there is an awful lot of anger. And I guess you don't have to really be a numerologist, astrologist, or psychic to know that. But the 4 is about that as well. There's, in addition to the 4, there's all this Aries energy later this month. And Aries doesn't take any quote unquote crap, so to speak. And Aries is impulsive and it wants to get going with stuff. So there's this tug of war going on. And unfortunately, it can bring war. So, you think that you've heard it all, and you say, okay, how much worse can it get? It can get a little worse. It's not the end of the world. It's not the end of the world, but yeah, so buckle up. Um, Now, again, I wrote this last month and I was wondering how this was going to start to turn, to roll out. And I can see how it's rolling out. I do think that there are other countries are going to be in the mix. I think Switzerland is having some issues, Germany. This is global. This is definitely a global affair. And something else I thought of that I thought I would add is this tie in AA, Alcoholics Anonymous, and Al Anon. I think it was so appropriate. The fourth step in both AA and Al Anon is made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. And what does that mean? It's like such a great step. And I think this would be great for anybody to do this month. Certainly our leaders, maybe I should send this to them. It's about writing down a detailed, honest assessment of your past, including your resentments, your fears, your character flaws, just to identify patterns of behavior. So I feel like this energy is, in a way, it's very demanding and very intent on demanding truth and transparency. I mean, it's not like we haven't demanded this before, my God, but somehow this feels more intense for some reason. So again, the energy about leaders is continuing. It's like we've poked this hornet's nest. And I am concerned about countries retaliating because we are under a 13.4 vibration as well. It's a karmic number. And also the 13th card of the tarot, which is the death card. And I always say the death card is not necessarily death, not necessarily about physical death. Unfortunately, in this case, I hate to say it, but it has a lot to do with that. Um, yeah. So that can continue, unfortunately, because we are at war. It also means big transitions. It also means deceit across the board, across the world. I mean, is this unusual? Of course not. But I do think things are going to be more transparent. And with the number four, we're very concerned about our security and homeland security too. Um, this is starting the ball rolling even more so as far as a lot of dirt and deceit coming out, especially over the next few months. And again, we've poked and we're poking the heart of the hornet's nest across the board. And I think that April appears to be a big month of change, like the second and third week. So we'll see how that rolls out. But all of this momentum is building. And with the four, yeah, there's also stuff again going on with the Royals. And I've been talking about this for months, and we have had some stuff, but I think there's more. And four can also make you feel like exhausted. So I want everybody to really take time out this month, definitely. And for the US, what we're in a six vibration, and that's about our homeland again, about our people, our families, also our health and family matters. And what I'm thinking, I'm not sure, but I know six is very much home and hearth and maybe food. I don't know if that is going to play into anything. Um, Possibility of gas shortages, possibility, especially I'm thinking with this four of, little pockets of blackouts and phones, disruption. So I don't know, over the next couple of months, it's like this big pot of stew on the stove that nobody's watching and it's boiling over. So we have to be very attuned to the energies and what's going on this month and make sure that we take care of our own hearth and home and watching things, being very careful, being very intentional this month, and being, just being very insightful into what's going on in your world immediately around you, and just being very cautious when you go out. So I want to talk a little bit about some of the planets. We have several planets transiting through water signs. And so some of this has already passed. Mercury is retrograde in Pisces until March 20th, while Mars just entered Pisces on March 2nd. And we have the Sun in Pisces until the 20th. So what does Pisces tell us? Well, it tells us to pay attention to water related issues. Pisces is very watery, very intuitive. So water related issues, what does that mean? Anything can happen with water supply, or water related issues on water, over water, underwater. What is water? It's also emotions, heightened emotions, but also heightened intuition. So we have Mercury retrograde in Pisces until the 20th. Mars enters Pisces, or entered Pisces, on March 2nd. The Sun is transiting Pisces most of the month. We have Saturn transiting Pisces and Venus transiting Pisces for part of the month before it enters Aries. So we can feel kind of overwhelmed with emotion and what's going to happen. But at the end of this, I really want to address that, about the question, oh gosh, what's going to happen? And everybody to, kind of stay peaceful and calm. And I will talk a little bit about how to do that. So it can feel overwhelming. It's not the greatest energy for peace. Pisces is intuition. And it's also sweet things. It's sweet things, the humanities, music, meditation. Flip that, Pisces can also say, I want out. I don't want this anymore, wanting to escape. Just be aware of that. If you want to escape, then do it in a way that enlivens you somehow. Again, do something creative, something that sparks your spirit. Escape. The water energy, go near water. This is a wonderful time to escape to water. All right, so let's go. March 3rd, we had a lunar eclipse. I don't even have to go into it, all of this and it was a blood moon. I mean, how more significant, or I hate to say appropriate, could that be? What's been going on? Now, unfortunately, the chart for Washington, D.C. had this eclipse opposite the ascendant. And what does that mean? It means a country in distress, unrest, health issues, war, strife. And yet, I think, crazy enough, even though there's going to be volatility with the stock market, I don't know how it's maintaining it, but it's okay so far. We'll see next month, but I do think it's okay. So March 6th and March 7th, we have Venus going into Aries until March 30th. And that is a very demanding energy. I want it, and I want it now. So it's kind of demands being made. Now that, again, what is that going to look like? I'm not sure, but it's demanding. It's very bold energy. Definitely could be challenges in communication, people not being heard, feeling like they're not being heard, or feeling or struggling to make themselves heard. We want clarity. We want to be heard clearly. So moving on to March 8th, we have a Venus-Saturn conjunction, and that, I'm not sure what's going to happen that day, but it's a sense of a reality check. It's looking back on things and saying, wait a minute, what the heck is going on here? And maybe even regretting some decisions, global decisions, personal decisions. It's an energy of, rocky, like uncertainty. Then we have March 9th, Mercury trining Jupiter. So this trines are beneficial, and this is a lot of energy building. And when I would like to say it's a lot of expansive, Mercury is thinking. So I like to think that that is somehow, wait a minute, this is expansive thinking in some way, and somehow. So I kind of like that energy. I also have to interject all the time that the energy of the planets, of the numbers and the dates that I give, it's always kind of around there. It doesn't have to be on that exact date. You just have to pay attention to what's going on before and after. So March 10th, we have Jupiter that goes direct in Cancer, Venus sextile Pluto. Pluto's transformation, it's compassionate. Cancer is compassionate. Jupiter expands things. That's another day that can be fortunate. Who knows? There could be, God willing, some type of resolution of something. A lot of emphasis on home, a lot of home related events. It's also going deep, exploring. You might be exploring like deeper psychological truths of relationships, of your relationships. It can be another aspect of it, which I love, is like rallying together, getting things together, rallying with other people. So I kind of like that one. The 13th to the 14th, we have Sun, Mars in Pisces, Venus in Aries. That is very bold. We can expect shifts, themes of release. And again, reevaluating things and reevaluating what's going on here. What are our long-term goals here? Very emotional, but very healing. Mars meeting the North Node demands we own our power, but also we can expect some reality distortion or uncertainty, or a need to clear the mental fog, like what's going on here really. And again, demanding to know what's really going on. And I think in the long run, we're going to get what we want. It may take a while, but I do believe it. And we might hear some grand announcement that day, either good or bad. What I didn't talk about yet either was, I think there might be some technological advances, and also having to do with medicine. March 18th, new moon in Pisces, and that makes a positive sextile to Uranus. And maybe things just might on that day. It's a 9-day with a 3. So I kind of like that heightened intuition, insight, which can turn into some type of us taking action. Yeah, it can be a little volatile, but very intentional in whatever you're doing. It could be a big news day. Mars is going to be in Pisces as well. That, Mars is all this positive energy. Pisces is intuition and intention, good for manifesting, but it's also kind of sentimental. But with Pisces here, it kind of, I think, softens things up. Important news. Keep getting the important news around that time. Okay. March 20th, Mercury goes direct in Pisces. So this aspect with Washington, D.C. could indicate, I don't know, some kind of finishing up. It's a good aspect. Oh gosh, hopefully, if they could take advantage of this, because it's great for alliances. It's really, really great for that. So it'd be so good if they took advantage, the powers that be took advantage of this energy to work things out. On a more personal level, It's about your personal alliances and knowing who's your friend and who's not. Um, it can also represent someone speaking up or speaking out. And the challenging part of that, also, the speaking out and speaking up, or speaking up and speaking out, is it also has a little touch of tyrannical action. So I'm hoping that it's not going to be a big disruption, but we just have to be aware. We have to listen really carefully because it is some little bit of deceiving energy. Um, but then guess what? It's also the spring equinox. And this is when the sun enters Aries, just about March 20th, 21st. And Mercury turns direct. So things, I think, start to clear up a little bit. And this is when the astrological new year actually begins. It's a lot of increased energy and courage. It's an energy shift. Yeah, it could bring this breakthroughs in technology, in medicine, big news story day about technology, something that helps people push forward. We also have a Mars Jupiter water trine, and that is really positive for igniting confidence and courage and growth. And this massive stellium, which is 3 or more planets in the same sign, and that is, it's an Aries, so it's encouraging courageous action, confidence, and growth. A lot of Aries, a lot of that spitfire energy, and also deep emotions and intuition. So I think people are going to be fired up. In addition, it's going to be a back and forth between feeling like restrictions and what the heck is going on and all these wars, but feeling like I've got to take action, I've got to do things. It's really positive for that. So I'm going to stop there because I want to close with this. Because all in all, I think this is a really emotional month. Our emotions are being triggered, despite the fact that we have the 4, which is very get down to business. And we're needing to reevaluate all our relationships and identify which ones are toxic. I want you to look at how much news do we want to let in. So we're informed, but not overwhelmed. And we've talked about this many times. It can be a little bit of a weepy type of energy because of all this water in Pisces. Look at who in your life might be playing the victim. Are you playing the victim? How can we nurture ourselves and restore some kind of peace in our lives? Because honestly, things have been, and they're going to continue for a while, to kind of feel like we're going off the rails. We're not going to go off the rails completely, but it's going to feel like that. So how do we keep ourselves centered? And I'm going to repeat a little bit of what I talked about. I posted something on Facebook, but I really think it's appropriate. So if you're following me, you know that I mentioned a number of the times that I believe the US was getting ready to drop info about aliens. So I'm not really going to talk so much about that, but there's a tie-in here. So hidden files, hidden things are the soup du jour these days. Add to that what was a possibility and now came to pass, the attack on Iran. But here specifically, I want to refer to the possible release of hidden UFO files. And as far as files are concerned, there are likely questions. Will we finally know everything? Would the truth change the world? Would it create chaos? And again, I want to strongly suggest that people watch Age of Disclosure on Amazon Prime. But at any rate, my feeling is really simple. we rarely receive the whole story in any type of complex matter. And even when information is revealed, it's often partial, it's interpreted, it's filtered. It's not new, right? It's part of how we as humans and our government and our institution function. But really, here's a deeper question. Would more information, and I'm going to say specifically release of the UFO files, would it truly create chaos, or does chaos come from how the mind reacts to uncertainty? So humanity has lived with mysteries for eons about the universe, about life, about what is known, about what is unknown. Yet, right, most people continue. What do? We wake up every morning, we love, we work, we care, we grow, and we live our daily lives. The world doesn't usually collapse because of information, but what creates disturbances is fear, projection, and the need for certainty. So, how do we remain grounded when the world seems to be spinning out of control? What do you need? What do we all need? And there are things we can do. There's a multitude of things we can do to bring more peace and harmony and trust. And that's a big one, trust into your life. Because I got to say, if you're holding your breath, waiting, for external events to relieve the pressure, which reminds me of the movie, right? Waiting to exhale. So if you're holding your breath, you'll die because, well, you've got a long wait. Because even if more is revealed about anything, we'll still be human. We will still be responsible for how we think, how we respond, and how we live. Because truth rarely creates chaos. However, irrational fear does. So rather than asking, what will they tell us and what are they going to do? Perhaps, or what are we going to do? Perhaps a deeper question is, can we remain anchored in the presence of uncertainty? Because calm awareness, not hidden information, is what's going to keep us grounded. I think the takeaway for this month of March is, how can you remain grounded when the world seems to be spinning out of control? What do you need to, again, bring more peace, harmony, and trust into your life? So think about that and what you can do on an individual basis or on a larger basis, if that's your calling, to bring more peace in your life, and not to think, oh my God, this is the end. It's not the end. It may seem like it, but it's not the end. And with that, I want to close and say, bless you all, remain calm, and do some things that make you happy.
Michelle, I love how you closed that out. In meditation, I don't know, it was about a week ago, the angel said, nothing is as it seems. And I found myself just spinning with that. It's like I don't know what to trust. I mean, reality is dependent on who you're talking to because everybody's got their own version of reality. And so I did deal with that for a couple of days. It just like totally circular in energy and thought and what do I trust? And as you said, bring peace, harmony, and trust into your life. Well, part of that is figuring out, what can I trust? And to me, that always goes to the spiritual because people
Absolutely.
are so darn fallible.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Tuning into your intuition, which is becoming more and more of a must do for everybody. Everybody has intuition. It's tuning into, how do you tune into it? How do you find your center? That's where meditation and all the wonderful programs that are on EWN, people tune into EWN. That's where you're going to find peace. That is one of the areas where you can learn how to tune in to your intuition, your voice of truth that will guide you without a doubt in the right direction. I have never had it fail me. And I won't go into detail, but before we got on today, I was going to do something and I said, no, I'm not going to do that right now. And it's a good thing I didn't, because something else popped up that I absolutely had to do, but I was in a space of real centeredness and peace. So it's like there's always your intuition and your angels are always talking to you if you can hear them. And how do you hear them? You clear your pipeline to the divine. You get rid of all the gook. And what's the gook? It's what he's saying, what she's saying, what's going to happen. It's basically fear, right?
Yep. Beautiful. Thank you so much, Michele. Michele, what would you like folks to know about you and what you're bringing to the world?
Okay, well, I am a board certified life coach. I would love to help guide you if you're going through transition, or especially through these really rocky times, just give you ways of bringing more peace, more tranquility into your life, not getting so tied up in what everybody else is saying or relationships that can be challenging. So that's the life coaching portion. I also am a certified hypnotherapist, and I'm a professional numerologist. Get your numerology chart done for the year. Certainly, it's not too late to do that. At any time, you can pop in and get your numerology chart done so you know what energies are operating for you. Because the point of all this is always to work with the energies, knowing the energies that are around you, to work with them, not against them. Because there are times where it's good to push ahead, or a time like this month in particular, and if that's your year, where it's saying, okay, slow down. You might have wanted to get that project off the ground, but this month you have to dot your I's and cross your T's. Okay. So if you're in a 4 year, it's a very foundational year. And that can be in so many areas. It could be real estate, or it could be more like a project that you want to, it's a goal for you, a new project. So, that's what I do. And I also offer a free 15-minute consultation that usually goes to 20 minutes, and to talk about any of these areas that you'd like to talk about or get more information. And that is michellanders.com. So,
With one L.
yes, with what else?
Yeah. Well, Michele, where your information comes in so handy. So let's say you've got a significant other, somebody that you care about, and they're really having a difficult time, or they're really making your life difficult. It's so helpful to be able to look at their chart, their numbers, to see where they are in their life process of things. And then you can see how it's impacting you.
Oh, Ruth, that is such a good point, because what I did forget to mention, such a good point. One of the things with numerology, once you understand numerology and you know numerology, and of course I teach it if people want to learn, when you get to, I do use it with my clients' permission, okay, to understand personality better. So if you've got what seems to be a crazy boss, or a crazy spouse, or crazy child or friend, I mean, if you know their information, it's like an x-ray, and you get to understand what motivates them and who they are. When you have a better understanding of other people, you can go, okay, now I get it. Because it's never about us. We take it so personally, but it's never about us. It's people and their personality and their fears and their loves, and how they, for most of us, project onto other people, which when you grow spiritually, you don't do that so much. But understanding their numerology gives you like X-ray vision into somebody's personality and what drives them. So I think that's fabulous. I used to, when I was dating, I did it. And I'm telling you, it was very accurate when it came to who was very loving and, and not so much, people who were more, men who were more inhibited, or maybe that's not the right word, but who are more closed off and who are just open. Like if I could get their information right away, I said, oh, this is a good one, or not so much.
I can just see you on a date. Nice to meet you. And when's your birthday?
So, boy, how I used to try and get that in. I would eventually, when were you born? I'm going to ask the silly question. What's your sign? Ha ha ha. Yeah. Yeah, it works.
Yeah. All right, Michele, thank you so much for this look at March. And if you want to stay on in just a couple minutes, we're going to be coming back on and doing personal month numerology. So stay here at Enlightened World Network. Friends, we'll see you soon. Take good care. Bye now.